Hare Krishna. Welcome to the morning Bhagavatam class. We'll start. Om Ajnanatimiraandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desatarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet Sushusho Shraddhadanasya Vasudeva Kataruchi Syan Mahat Sevaya Vipra Punyatirtha Nishevanat Shrinvata Svakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtanaha Hridyantasto Hyabhadrani Vidunoti Suhritsatam Nashtaprayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Tadarajastamo Bhava Kamalobhadayaschaye Cheta Eterana Viddam Stitam Sattve Prasidati Evam Prasanna Manaso Bhagavad Bhakti Yogataha Bhagavad Tattva Vijnanam Mukta Sangasya Jayate Vidyate Hridaya Grantis Chidyante Sarva Samshayaha Kshiyante Chasya Karmani Drishta Evatmanishware Sarva Shastrabdi Piyusha Sarva Vedaika Satphala Sarva Siddhantaratnadya Sarva Lokaika Drikprada Sarva Bhagavata Prana Srimad Bhagavata Prabhu Kalidvanto Didaditya Sri Krishna Parivartita Paramananda Pathaya Prema Varshaksharayate Sarvada Sarvasebhyaya Sri Krishnaya Namostume Madeka Bandhu Matsangin Madguru Manmahadana Manishtaraka Madbhagya Madananda Namostute Asadu Sadhu Tadain Atini Chochatakara Hanamuncha Kadachinmam Premna Hritkanta We'll just offer one more prayer. Padau Yadiyau Pratamadvitiyau Tritiyaturyau Katitau Yaduru Nabhistata Panchamayeva Shashto Bhujantaram Doryugalam Tatanyau Kantasturajan Navamo Yadiyo Mukaravindam Dashamaprafullam Ekadasho Yasya Lalatapattam Stiropi Tudvadasha Eva Bhati Tamadidevam Karunanidanam Kamalavarnam Suhitavataram Apara Samsara Samudra Setum Bhajamahe Bhagavata Swarupam. I'll just read the translation for these verses, the last three. The first and second cantos of the Bhagavatam are Sri Krishna's lotus feet. The third and fourth cantos are his thighs. The fifth canto is his navel. The sixth canto is his chest. The seventh and eighth cantos are his arms. The ninth canto is his throat. The 10th canto is his beautiful lotus face. The 11th canto is his forehead. The 12th canto is his head. I bow down to that Lord, the ocean of mercy, whose color is like that of a tamala tree, and who appears in this world for the welfare of all. I worship him as the bridge for crossing the unfathomable ocean of material existence. The Bhagavatam has appeared as his very self. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we are now continuing on our second canto, chapter 4. So just a background. The first canto starts with the sages of Naimisharanya asking questions to Sutta Goswami, and Sutta Goswami starts responding, and in the response there are description of one of the response for the sixth question. The response was that Bhagavatam is the abode of all religious principles once Krishna has left the planet. So then there's history of Bhagavatam being spoken, and that comes appearance of Maharaj Parikshit, or the birth of Maharaj Parikshit, and gradually towards the end, when we hear the meeting of Maharaj Parikshit and Shukadeva Goswami. And when they meet, then Maharaj Parikshit, who has 7 days and 7 nights to leave the world, he asks questions, and he asks in very simple words, how should one live and how should one die? What is the perfect way to live? What is the perfect way to die? So then this question is really very thrilling, very deep. Then we come back to the setting of sages of Naimisharanya who are hearing all this from Sutta Goswami, that this is a conversation happened between Maharaj Parikshit and Shukadeva Goswami. So once they hear that, then they become excited. They want to hear more. So anyway, so the second canto begins with Shukadeva Goswami responding to Maharaj Parikshit. And he first says, first of all, have a God conception. How to live? First of all, have conception of God, at least as a universal form. So the first chapter of the second canto focuses on pantheism. Even though Shukadeva Goswami tells the direct answer in the beginning, and then he moves into somebody who doesn't have any God conception, have God conception. And then he proceeds to saying or speaking about the Lord in the heart, second chapter. And then the third chapter is pure devotional service, change of heart. So then actually the answer to Parikshit Maharaj is over at this point. But however, Parikshit Maharaj inquires more. So now, again, stepping back a little bit, now the sages of Naimisharanya become very excited that their inquiries are, something that are related to what Parikshit Maharaj has already asked. So then they please tell us more about the conversation that took place between these two great souls, Maharaj Parikshit and Shukadeva Goswami. Then we are again coming back into the scene where Maharaj Parikshit and Shukadeva Goswami are there. Maharaj Parikshit asks after the first 3 chapters, he asks, you have said that the Lord is the cause of all causes. He is the origin, he is the source. So could you please elaborate on how does he create? How does he create? And how does he maintain? So how does this process of creation take place? So that's the question. Now, before Shukadeva Goswami responds to that question, he is actually fixing himself on meditating on the lotus feet of the Lord, actually. So he starts offering prayers, or he actually starts just glorifying the potency or the supremacy of Krishna. Then we read all these several verses, preceding verses in this chapter, where Shukadeva Goswami says, so he starts in verse 13 onwards. For fixing his mind, he says, let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who, for the creation of this material world. So the first prayer that he offers is directly related to the question of Parikshit Maharaj. For the creation of this material world accepts the three modes of nature. He is a complete whole residing within the body of everyone, and his ways are inconceivable. I again offer my respectful obeisances unto the form of complete existence and transcendence, who is the liberator of the pious devotees from all distresses and the destroyer of the further advances in atheistic temperament of the non-devotee demons. So it's a beautiful prayer. For the transcendentalists who are situated in the topmost spiritual perfection, he grants their specific destinations. In text 14, he says, let me offer my respectful obeisances unto he who is the associate of the members of Yadu dynasty and who is always a problem for the non-devotees. He is the supreme enjoyer of both the material and spiritual worlds, yet he enjoys his own abode in the spiritual sky. There is no one equal to him because his transcendental opulence is immeasurable. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the all-auspicious Lord Sri Krishna, about whom glorification, remembrances, audience, prayers, hearing, and worship can at once cleanse the effects of all sins of the performer. Let me offer my respectful obeisances again and again unto the all-auspicious Lord Sri Krishna, the highly intellectual, simply by surrendering unto his lotus feet, are relieved of all attachments to the present and future existences, and without difficulty progress toward spiritual existence. Text 17. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the all-auspicious Lord Sri Krishna again and again, because the great learned sages, the great performers of charity, the great workers of distinction, the great philosophers and mystics, the great chanters of Vedic hymns, and the great followers of Vedic principles cannot achieve any fruitful result without dedication of such great qualities to the service of the Lord. Text 18. Kirata, Huna, Andhra, Pulinda, Pulkasha, Abhira, Shumba, Yavana, members of the Kasa races, and even others addicted to sinful acts, can be purified by taking shelter of the devotees of the Lord, due to his being the supreme power. I beg to offer my respectful obeisances unto him. That's text number 18. And yesterday's verse is this. He is the super soul and supreme Lord of all self-realized souls. He is the personification of the Vedas, religious scriptures, and austerities. He is worshipped by Lord Brahma and Shiva and all those who are transcendental to all pretensions. Being so revered with awe and veneration, may that supreme absolute truth be pleased with me. So now with this 19th verse, little bit gear is shifting. Until 18, it was all glories of the Supreme Lord. Now, after glorifying, Shukadeva Goswami is requesting and seeking mercy from the Supreme Lord. He says, may that Supreme Absolute Truth be pleased with me. So that's yesterday's verse. And today's verse is Canto 2, Chapter 4, text number 20. Shriyapatir Yagyapati Prajapatir Dhiyampati Lokapati Dharapati Patir Gatis Chandaka Vrishni Satvatam Prasidatam Me Bhagavan Satam Pati. So it's very poetic. We'll read the word that is repeating itself, is repeated by Shukadeva Goswami here is Patihi, the owner. Pati is also, we know, the protector. Here it is owner and leader. Let's read. Director. There are different meanings that are given to this one word Patihi. So Shriyaha, all opulence. Patihi, the owner. So Shriyapati means owner of all opulence. Yajna, of sacrifice. Patihi, the director. So Yajnapati means the director of sacrifices. Prajapatihi means the leader of all living entities. Dhiyam, of intelligence. Patihi, the master. So he is the master of all intelligence. Lokapatihi, the proprietor of all planets. Dhara, earth. Patihi, the supreme. Patihi, head. So he is the supreme head of the entire planet Earth. And then Gatihi, destination. Cha, also. Andaka, one of the kings of Yadu dynasty. Vrishni, the first king of Yadu dynasty. Satvatam, the Yadus. Prasidatam, be merciful. May, upon me. Bhagavan, Lord Sri Krishna. Satam, of all devotees. Patihi, the Lord. So we'll read the translation by Srila Prabhupada. May Lord Sri Krishna, who is the worshipable Lord of all devotees, the protector and glory of all the kings like Andaka and Vrishni of the Yadu dynasty, the husband of all goddesses of fortune, the director of all sacrifices, and therefore the leader of all living entities, the controller of all intelligence, the proprietor of all planets, spiritual and material, and the supreme incarnation on the earth, the supreme all in all, be merciful upon me. Shriyapati means the owner of all opulence. Yajnapati means director of all sacrifices. Prajapati means the leader of all living entities. Dhiyampatihi, the master of all intelligence. Lokapatihi, the proprietor of all the planets. Dharapatihi, the supreme incarnation on the earth. Patir Gatis Chandaka Vrishni Satvatam. He is the worshipable protector and glorious protector of all kings like Andaka and Vrishni of the Yadu dynasty. Satampatihi is worshipped by all the devotees. So may such a Lord, Sri Krishna, be merciful upon me. Prasidatam me Bhagavan. So that's what Shukadeva Goswami is praying now, seeking the mercy. Be pleased with me, Krishna. So before answering Parikshit Maharaj, Shukadeva Goswami offers this prayer so that his responses would be pleasing to the Lord, as well as Parikshit Maharaj and everybody in the audience. They can feel connected to the Lord's pleasure. So we'll read the purport. Prabhupada has given beautiful purport explaining each of this patihi. So we'll start purport. Since Shukadeva Goswami is one of the prominent Gata Vyalikas who are freed from all misconceptions, he therefore expresses his own realized perception of Lord Sri Krishna as being the sum total of all perfection, the personality of Godhead. The Prabhupada opens the purport with this sentence, establishing who actually Shukadeva Goswami is. Now, we are not hearing from someone who just is poetic. We're hearing from Shukadeva Goswami. And Prabhupada goes to the previous verse where Shukadeva Goswami actually glorifies the Lord as being worshipped by those who are above all pretensions. Gatavyalikai. Gatavyalikair aja Shankaradivihi. So Shukadeva Goswami himself says, he is in the previous verse, verse 19, that the Lord is worshipped by Lord Brahma and Shiva and all those who are transcendental to all pretensions. So now Prabhupada is bringing that here and saying, Shukadeva Goswami is nothing less. Shukadeva Goswami is one of the most prominent Gatavyalikas. So that is, he is also, or he is above all pretensions. So Prabhupada says, what does it mean, pretensions? Those who are freed from all misconceptions. So only such persons, so then Prabhupada establishes, because he is free from all misconceptions and pretensions, he therefore expresses his own realized perception of Lord Krishna as being the sum total of all perfection. So this means this verse is Shukadeva Goswami's realization. And this what he's putting here in this verse is his vision. He has seen the Lord as this verse, actually. So about just misconception, right? Gatavyalika is translated as above all pretension or freed from misconception. So one of the 4 defects of the conditioned soul is to cheat or to pretend, actually. So either one is pretending to oneself, is self-deception, or one is actually deceiving others, that is, deceiving other people. So, but for both, whether self-deception or deceiving others, the subtle thing is one has to actually deceive oneself before even one deceives the other person, right? If you want to deceive the persons around us, whether intentionally or unintentionally, or knowingly, or what do you say, like with a plan, with a motivation, or as just got lost in our deception, actually. So to do that, one has to first cheat oneself. And what does that mean? Prabhupada says here, misconceptions. So one has this misconception about oneself, one has misconception about others, and one also has misconception about the Lord and the place we are in and the process that we are supposed to be following or taking up as a purpose of life. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur brings it up as Vibhrama, illusion or misconception about one's, there are different types of Vibhrama. One is Swatattva Vibhrama, that is misconception about ourselves and or oneself. And the other, what is this misconception about oneself? When we look at Shukadeva Goswami, how is he free from that misconception? Even when he came out of the womb and he just left home, what was the reception by all the ladies who were actually bathing? They didn't even see any, he was 16-year-old, actually teenage youth, peak of his youth, but they didn't feel anything. They were okay to just like stay there in the water without even putting their clothes on. So they saw that he was above all misconceptions. He wasn't even thinking about male-female difference at that point. He was situated in Brahman, spirit soul conception. So he is already above. So when we come to us, we cannot artificially pretend to be freed from that. But we would like to definitely act according to our varna and ashrama and all those things that are given, and the tendencies, this, that. But at the same time, we would like to cultivate the vision of being a servant or part and parcel of Krishna, and not just the attributes that we have related to this body, being a man, woman, or being born in such and such family of this Brahmana, Kshatriya, this and that, or even having tendencies of a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. And we are not even, like wanting to constantly associate with the feeling of where we were born, Indian, American, South Indian, this and that. There are so many details of our misconceptions actually. So these are the identities and the misconceptions. One who is freed from all these misconceptions, even though we are in this body, right? But one is freed from these misconceptions, then such a person is Gatavyalika. So anyway, we'll go further. We only read the 2 sentences from purport. So the next part of the purport, Prabhupada is going to focus on the first word, Shriyapati, the owner of all opulence. So we'll read. Everyone is seeking the favor of the goddess of fortune, but people do not know that Lord Sri Krishna is the beloved husband of all goddesses of fortune. We're not talking about one Lakshmi Devi here, who is in Vaikunta. We are talking about Lakshmi Sahasra Shata Sambrama Sevyamanam. So all these Lakshmi Devis or goddesses of fortune and Goloka Vrindavan. In Brahma Samhita, it is said that the Lord in his transcendental abode, Goloka Vrindavan, is accustomed to herding the Surabhi cows and is served there by hundreds of thousands of goddesses of fortune. All these goddesses of fortune are manifestations of his transcendental pleasure potency, Haladini Shakti, in his internal energy. So expansions of Srimati Radharani. And when the Lord manifested himself on this earth, he partially displayed the activities of his pleasure potency in his Rasa Leela, just to attract the conditioned souls who are all after the phantasmagoria pleasure potency in degraded sex enjoyment. Prabhupada now is bringing a context here. First, he established how Krishna is Shriyapati. So he's an owner of all opulence. So now he's bringing the context to what's happening in this world, what's happening in the conditioned souls in this world. What are they after? What are the conditioned souls after? Pleasure. Is Anandamaya Abhyasat. Everybody actually is pleasure seeking, but the conditioned souls are seeking where? Pleasure potency in degraded sex enjoyment. Prabhupada is bringing this context here. Now we'll continue. The pure devotees of the Lord, like Shukadeva Goswami, who was completely detached from the abominable sex life of the material world, discussed this act of Lord's pleasure potency, certainly not in relation to sex, but to relish a transcendental taste, inconceivable to the mundaners who are after sex life. Sex life in the mundane world is a root cause of being conditioned by the shackles of illusion. And certainly, Shukadeva Goswami was never interested in the sex life of the mundane world, nor does the manifestation of Lord's pleasure potency have any connection with such degraded things. So Prabhupada is putting this even more firmly because Atmavan Manyate Jagat, so conditioned souls who feels that this particular enjoyment in this world is the topmost, then when the conditioned soul hears about Rasa Leela, one thinks whatever is here, same thing goes on there. So Krishna is after this degraded enjoyment, degraded sex enjoyment. So one misunderstands, or this is again Paratattva Vibhrama. One doesn't have proper understanding of Krishna. First one was Swatattva. One is not having proper conception about oneself. Now the same conception is taken and applied over the Lord, who is actually always transcendental. And one assumes that this particular Lord Sri Krishna, who's doing Rasa Lila, he's also doing the same thing. So Prabhupada says, to establish that even his devotees are not interested in this. What about the Lord? So Shukadeva Goswami was never interested in this. Even, his parts and parcels who have realized him, they are not interested in this degraded enjoyment. What about the Lord? The Lord, Lord's pleasure potency does not have any connection with such degraded things. So to exhibit this, or to not exhibit, I mean to say, to help us understand this, Lord Krishna came as Lord Chaitanya. Now, Lord Chaitanya was a strict sannyasi, so much so that he did not allow any woman to come near him, not even to bow down and offer respects. He never even heard the prayers of the Devadasis offered in the temple of Lord Jagannath, because the sannyasi is forbidden to hear songs sung by the fair sex. Yet, even in the rigid position of a sannyasi, he recommended the mode of worship preferred by the gopis of Vrindavan. What a contrast. What a contrast. He recommends the worship of gopis of Vrindavan. Gopi bhatu pada kamalayo dasa dasa anudasa. That's the mood Lord Chaitanya wanted to teach. And he did not allow women to come. So that shows the distinction between transcendental and what goes on here in this world. So Lord Chaitanya was keeping a strict policy to show how to be in this world. At the same time, appreciate the interactions between gopis and Krishna in the transcendental abode. So he is the expert teacher. He gave this very clearly. And Srimati Radharani is the principal head of all such goddesses of fortune. And therefore, she is the pleasure counterpart of the Lord and is non-different from Krishna. So in this paragraph, Prabhupada is expanding on Shukadeva Goswami's glorification of the Lord, that he is Shriyapati, he is the Lord of all opulence. In this world, opulence is equated to Goddess Lakshmi, So now who is the owner of Goddess Lakshmi is the Lord. So not just one Goddess Lakshmi, there's so many immeasurable, uncountable goddesses of fortune. So that is Shriyapati. We'll go to the next paragraph. In the Vedic rituals, now we are going to Yajnapati. Prabhupada is going on to Yajnapati. In the Vedic rituals, there are recommendations for performing different types of sacrifice in order to achieve the greatest benefit in life. Such benedictions as a result of performing great sacrifices are, after all, favors given by the goddess of fortune, and the Lord, being the husband or lover of goddess of fortune, is factually the Lord of all sacrifices also. He is the final enjoyer of all kinds of yajna. Therefore, Yajnapati is another name of Lord Vishnu. It's recommended in the Bhagavad Gita that everything be done for the Yajnapati. This famous verse from 3rd chapter, 9th verse, I think. Yajnatat karmano anyatra lokoyam karma bandhanaha. So whatever yajna, whatever sacrifice you do it for unto Lord Vishnu. Why? Because karma bandhana, it avoids karma, it relieves one from the karma. So we'll read this sentence again. It's recommended in the Bhagavad Gita that everything be done for the Yajnapati, for otherwise one's acts will be the cause of conditioning by the law of material nature. Those who are not freed from all misconceptions, Vyalikam means one is still under misconceptions, perform sacrifices to please the minor demigods, but the devotees of the Lord know very well that Lord Sri Krishna is the supreme enjoyer of all the performances of sacrifice. So, this famous verse again from Bhagavad Gita, Bhoktaram Yajna Tapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. So Krishna says that I am the enjoyer of all sacrifice. I'm the benefactor of all sacrifices. So he clearly says there. So there, we don't need to discover something. We don't need to, analyze who am I offering this to. He already established. And just on a side note, whatever sacrifice, even karma kind of sacrifices somebody does, right? Like, how do they begin? They begin with Achaman. And what is Achaman mantras? It's Krishna. So without beginning with Krishna and ending with Krishna, even the other, like any kind of non-bhakti sacrifices also cannot be very fruitful, because the empowerment for the demigods to bestow what the person who is performing sacrifices also comes from Krishna. Sadly, it's very temporary. But anyway, so now those who want permanent, those who want to become reinstated into their permanent nature, what are we supposed to do? Prabhupada brings up here. Therefore, they perform the Sankirtan Yagya, Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu, which is especially recommended in this age of Kali. In Kali Yuga, performance of other types of sacrifice is not feasible due to insufficient arrangements and inexpert priesthood. So think of Sankirtan Yagya. First of all, we only need ourselves. So Shravanam Kirtanam Yagya, that this Yagya, what do we need? We only need ourselves. Actually, of course, we need association. I'm just saying that we don't need extra fittings. So we need to bring ourselves and be participating in Sankirtan Yagya, hearing every day, chanting every day. And then we also go out and give the Sankirtan Yagya to everybody else out there. So therefore, our leaders in beginning with Prabhupada, our leaders have established this Sankirtan festival, Sankirtan mood, which is Lord Chaitanya's mood. So we go out there on the streets and sing. All we need is, of course, these days we need permissions and everything. Lots of, interrogation goes on behind what we want to do and this and that. But still, those are all just formalities and procedures we are taking care. But what exactly one needs? One needs oneself and holy name. And if we can make it better and better and more palatable, depending on instruments and everything, but even without anything, we can still do Sankirtan Yagya. And we just go stand there and distribute few books, that is Sankirtan Yagya. So anything directly connected to the mood and mission of Lord Chaitanya, it's Sankirtan Yagya. Go out and share. Right? So this is Yajnapati. What are we doing this for? Who is the director of Sankirtan? Director of Sankirtan. That's what is translated here in this verse. Yajnapati is translated word to word as director of all sacrifices. So who is the director of all sacrifices? Krishna. So who is the director of all monthly Sankirtan festivals that we hold? Krishna is the director. So it's really exciting to put this in perspective, right? Now, next paragraph. We have information from the Bhagavad Gita 3, 10, and 11 that Lord Brahma, after giving rebirth to the conditioned souls within the universe, instructed them to perform sacrifices and to lead a prosperous life. With such sacrificial performances, the conditioned souls will never be in difficulty in keeping the body and soul together. Ultimately, they can purify their existence. They will find natural promotion into spiritual existence, the real identity of the living being. A conditioned soul should never give up the practice of sacrifice, charity, or austerity in any circumstances. The aim of all such sacrifices is to please the Yagyapati, the personality of Godhead. So our mood is set now. Why we are doing what we are doing is to please Yagyapati. And whatever we are doing in connection to bhakti process, it's all sacrifices to Krishna. And reminding of the third chapter, Bhagavad Gita. If we see the yoga ladder, until a human being begins to do some sort of sacrifice, one remains in animalistic platform. The same tendency, the common things that a human being and animal has is eating, mating, defending, and sleeping. So if one doesn't step up above it and do some sacrifice, okay, give some charity, some this, some little bit, then human life begins. Until then, human life doesn't even begin actually. And then the perfection of human life is in Sankirtan India. So the next paragraph is about, no, in this itself, Prabhupada is giving Prajapati. Let's read that sentence. Yeah. So I'll read again. The aim of all such sacrifices is to please the Yagyapati, the personality of Godhead. Therefore, the Lord is also Prajapati. Human being, human life begins there, Prajapati. According to Katha Upanishad, the one Lord is the leader of all innumerable living entities. The living entities are maintained by the Lord. Eko bahunam yo vidadati kaman. The Lord is therefore called the supreme Bhutabhrit, or maintainer of all living beings. And his name is Janardana. Okay, so the next paragraph is about Diyam Pati. Diyam Pati means the master of all intelligence. So we did Shriyapati, we read Shriyapati, the owner of all opulence, Yagyapati, the director of all sacrifices, Prajapati, the leader of all living entities. Now we are going to the next word. Prabhupada is going to explain to us Dyampati, the master of all intelligence. So here we go. Living beings are proportionately endowed with intelligence in terms of their previous activities. All living beings are not equally endowed with the same quality of intelligence, because behind such development of intelligence is the control of the Lord, as declared in Bhagavad Gita 15:15. So how does Lord become the master of all everyone's intelligence? In what feature? Prabhupada says, as Paramatma, the super soul, the Lord is living in everyone's heart, and from him only does one's power of remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness follow. Matta smriti jnanam apohanam cha. One person can sharply remember past activities by the grace of the Lord, while others cannot. One is highly intelligent by the grace of the Lord, and one is a fool by the same control. Therefore, the Lord is Dhyam Pati, or the Lord of intelligence. This applies to mostly material intelligence. Spiritual intelligence is also given by Krishna. I mean, not also, it is given by Krishna. But the thing is that it's not that when one is not materially intelligent, one cannot approach Krishna, because Krishna gives spiritual intelligence to anybody who wants to take it from him, receive it from him. So next we will read, how to use the intelligence. Prabhupada says, the conditioned souls strive to become the lords of the material world. Everyone is trying to lord it over the material nature by applying his highest degree of intelligence. So we have different degrees that we carry also educationally. I mean, this misuse of intelligence by a conditioned soul is called madness. One's full intelligence should be applied to get free from the material clutches. But the conditioned soul, due to madness only, engages his full energy and intelligence in sense gratification. And to achieve this end of life, he willfully commits all sorts of misdeeds. The result is that instead of attaining an unconditional life of full freedom, the mad conditioned soul is entangled again and again in different types of bondage in material bodies. So now we just read about Dhyampati. Next, we will see Dharapati and Lokapati. What is Lokapati? What is Lokapati? Translated as proprietor of all planets. Dharapati, the supreme incarnation on the earth. So what is Prabhupada saying about these two glorifications of Shukadeva Goswami? So Everything we see in the material manifestation is but the creation of the Lord. Therefore, he is the real proprietor of everything in all the universes. The conditioned soul can enjoy a fragment of this material creation under the control of the Lord, but not self-sufficiently. That is the instruction in Ishopanishad. One should be satisfied with things awarded by the Lord of the universe, the famous verse, Ishavasya verse, and the famous takeaway point for all of us is the quota. It is out of madness only that one tries to encroach upon another's share of material possessions. So here, Prabhupada is establishing who is the real proprietor. The real proprietor of all planets and the supreme incarnation on this earth is Krishna. So he is Lokapati and he is Dharapati. We'll read the next paragraph, which is going to be a little expansion on what we read, and then Prabhupada is going to talk about Patir Gatis Cha Andaka Vrishni Satvatam. How is he the protector of Andaka and Vrishni dynasty? Okay, so yeah, the Lord of the universe, out of his causeless mercy upon the conditioned souls, descends by his own energy, Atma Maya, to re-establish the eternal relation of the conditioned souls with him. He instructs all to surrender unto him instead of falsely claiming to be enjoyers for a certain limit under his control. When he so descends, he proves how much greater is his ability to enjoy. And he exhibits his power of enjoyment by marrying 16,000 wives at once. Prabhupada says in the next few sentences, the conditioned soul is very proud of becoming the husband of even one wife. But the Lord laughs at this or laughs at this. The intelligent man can know who is the real husband. Factually, the Lord is the husband of all the women in this creation. But a conditioned soul under the control of the Lord feels proud to be the husband of one or two wives. So Prabhupada is establish again the context, because why are we knowing all this? To see our reference point, who am I and who is Lord? So Krishna is the supreme and I am this tiny part and parcel. So to to give a perspective or to put everybody in proper place, in their place, Prabhupada is giving context here and there. Why are we knowing about this? What is it? How does it relate to us? So it's not just glorification. Yes, it is. And also it gives a reference point to see ourselves and accept who we are. So to invoke that natural humility, Prabhupada is bringing all these points. Then the last paragraph for the purport is going to be about how he is the protector and maintainer and the lord of Vrishni Andaka dynasties, and how he is the guide for all the devotees, Satampati. Last paragraph. All these qualifications as the different types of pati mentioned in this verse are meant for Lord Krishna. And Shukadeva Goswami has therefore especially mentioned the pati and gati of the Yadu dynasty. So now one cannot say this is some other Krishna, not the Krishna who appeared in Vrishni dynasty. One cannot say that, because Shukadeva Goswami is establishing this is none other than this Krishna who appeared in Yadu dynasty. Then the members of the Yadu dynasty knew that Lord Krishna is everything, and all of them intended to return to Lord Krishna after he had finished his transcendental pastimes on the earth. The Yadu dynasty was annihilated by the will of the Lord because its members had to return home with the Lord. So here we can see how they were really trusting Krishna as the supreme, all in all, their gati. They really trusted him. So then what did he do? Even their annihilation, he took care before he left. Even he didn't want to give them the pain of separation. So before he left, he took care of them. First they went and then he went. So the annihilation of the Yadu dynasty was a material show created by the Supreme Lord. Otherwise, The Lord and the members of the Yadu dynasty are eternal associates. So this is the third sentence in the verse. Patir gatischa andaka vrishni satvatam. Next sentence is, next line in the verse is, Prasidatam me Bhagavan Satam Pati. So now Shukadeva Goswami is saying, the Lord who is all this, may Lord Krishna be pleased with me, be merciful upon me. So what is it saying? The Prabhupada is expanding on this. The Lord is therefore the guide of all devotees. And as such, Shukadeva Goswami offered him due respects with love-laden feelings. So that is the verse. Here, Prabhupada is speaking. Shukadeva Goswami is very nicely putting it. Shriyapati, Yagyapati, Prajapati, Diyampati, Lokapati, Dharapati, Patir gatischa andaka vrishni satvatam, Prasidatam me Bhagavan Satam Patihi. So Shriyapati, what is Shriyapati? Owner of all opulence. Prajapati, leader of all living beings. Yagyapati, director of all sacrifices. And then Dhyampati, the master of all intelligence. Lokapati, proprietor of all planets. Dharapati is the supreme incarnation on this planet Earth. And then Patir gatischa andaka vrishni satvatam. He appeared in the Yadu dynasty and he is the protector and the supreme for all the Yadu dynasty. And such a Lord, Prasidatam me Bhagavan Satampati. O Lord, please, you are the guide or protector of all living beings, all devotees, Satampati. Be merciful upon me. Prasidatam me. So that is the verse, text 20. Prabhupada gave beautiful purport. So if anyone has any reflections and inspirations, please share. That would be really nice. Or which one of the pati was most inspiring for you? You can share something like that also very briefly. Which pati do you connect the most with? Shriyapati, Yagyapati? Yeah, yes,
Hey, Krsna, Shatarupa. I thank you very, very much. Wonderful class. Appreciate it. Not about one in particular, but it is the verse itself. It speaks by itself. There is so much potency in the glorification of the Lord that understanding it with our brain is one thing, but just appreciating it is what, it's so, the verse is speaking for itself. So that is the feeling when you read this verse. And or not only this verse, all the 13 verses or so that Sukadeva Goswami is glorifying the Lord. And the fact that instead of answering the question immediately about the process of creation, the first thing that Shukadeva Goswami did is glorify the Lord. And that teaches us so much that it's not about, how much by the Lord's mercy, his special devotees such as Shukadeva Goswami or Maharaja Parikshit, they are fully in knowledge to the extent that Lord revealed to them about the process of creation, and they were perfectly qualified to discuss the topic, which is an important topic. Otherwise, Maharaja Parikshit would not have even brought it up at this time of death when there is only so little time left. But the fact that these two great personalities, when they begin this discussion, the first thing that is happening is glorification of the Lord. And that points us or teaches us the fact that simply glorification of the Lord, that is the most important thing, because they are showing by their own natural loving affection for the Lord, their own, this is their immediate, the way of doing anything. For us, it is like before somebody asks a question, we give an answer. But there is not even 1 second time to think about the Krishna. We don't glorify the Lord. We are always ready to share our knowledge to the soul world and the social media. Everybody, even if you know some tiny little something, you need to announce it the first time. First thing, I have to be the announcer of the whole thing. That's not what Shukadeva Goswami is showing here. And therefore, all these verses are extremely inspirational just because of the fact it is glorification of the Lord. That's my thought on this. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, that's lesson.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mata. Sorry. Prabhu, please go ahead.
Okay, Mataji. Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you for a nice class. I think for the question that you are asking us to share, the one that inspires more, the last paragraph of the purport and the Patir Gatis, right? Chanda. Krishna took care of even their annihilation. So, they are connected so nicely. Generally from the outside world, it looks like it's like a bad thing, right? Whatever reasons people give because they had to fight each other. So, but this is Krishna's, the way he's taking care of them, right? Because they don't want to be separated from him once he leaves this planet. So it was so nicely Prabhupada connected to that. Thank you so much. It's very nice.
Thank you, Prabhu.
I just wanted to add one more thing. The word he used is pati and gati. And the gati, he is the shelter. He's the ultimate shelter. He's also the protector, and he's also the ultimate. And just 2 words, pati and gati. And you don't need volumes of speech, right?
Yeah.
It is like, how is it in this language? It is so powerful that how is it is able to communicate so much meaningful, thought-provoking, messages in just one word.
Yeah.
That's amazing. It's the most amazing. I'm sorry. I think Sandhya has something to say.
Thank you, Mataji. Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Guru Maharaj Srila Prabhupada. Mataji, this is, amazing. Every word is, to be reread and to be reheard. But 2 things I thought specifically, Sankirtana Yajna. Of all those very difficult kind of sacrifices in Kali Yuga, Sankirtana Yajna, for every child and for everybody to participate, it's so, it's been made so simple. That's the greatest Mahatmya of Kali Yuga. And then when I think about Dhyambadi, Mataji, that is Matta Smritir Jnanam Apohanam Cha. Then the whole personality of his living entity is actually every moment controlled by the Lord, isn't it? When you think about it, that is every moment what we remember and our what we forget, and our jnana also is it is that is we are each and every living entity is supremely under the control of the Lord, his intelligence, and then it reminds me of 9:18, Gati Bharta Prabhu Sakshi Nivasa Sharanam Suhrit Prabhava Pralaya Sthanam Nidhanam Bija Bhavyayam. And that one, also everything is here also. That is Bhuta Prin, Bhuta Prit, all that is completely. But there, the Nivasa Sharanam Suhrit, he is the residence, not only destination and residence. Who can we go and stay with for 1 week, Mataji? And here the Lord is saying, I am the residence. Suhrit, I mean, there is, so much. Thank you so much. It was so
Thank you,
wonderful.
Mataji. Thank you.
Hare
Yeah, it's a
Krishna.
very nice connection you brought from 9th chapter. Bhagavad
Hare
Gita.
Krishna.
Yeah, it's also interesting that each word, pati is the same word, but then it's translated in a wide variety of English words. So Diyampati is the master of intelligence.
Yes,
So,
Mataji. Yes, Mataji.
yeah, that's where I was very thrilled to just read the different variety of meanings that one word has actually. Yeah. Anyway, thank you, Mataji.
And when we remember Srila Prabhupada in Leelamrita, in the midst of so many activities, he is doing this translation and imagine his concentration level, his activity level. I mean, he's directly, Shukadev Goswami's words, where it flows like this. When we think about all that, the
Same thing,
Supreme
yeah.
Lord.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Other devotees on the call, would you like to share something? Which one of the patis are most attractive to you, if anything else if you want to share? Okay. Wait for 10 more seconds. Okay. Thank you so much for being with us, and very grateful to this verse is really interesting and very nice. Thank you so much for being here to read this verse together. We will end here. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. We'll just read this verse to offer prayer again. Shriyapati Yagyapati Prajapati Diyampati Lokapati Dharapati Patir Gatis Chandaka Vrishni Satvatam Prasidatam Me Bhagavan Satampati. Okay. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Mataji.
Hare Krishna.